The following program is not God's gift to humanity. No, really, it's not. Stop saying that. Oh, you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. I need to start by just saying, Bella, 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 Bella. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say other than Bella. Just Bella. Bella. Bella, you beat me. I saw the 10 gifted, and I said, I got to jump in and pull up the stream so I can call out who owes some gratitude to Bella Stella. And it's courtesy of Bella Stella, Master Phillips, Wims, and a handful of others, as well as you, my loyal supporters, that I have crossed. I got a new milestone. You see, look at this. Master Phillips, like I said, I've crossed a new milestone in membership. We crossed a new milestone. I got a notification that I crossed 900 members. We said, that's your first time. That's my rookie time. I'm pumping out, getting closer and closer to 1,000. I'm feeling it. Closer and closer, and seriously, I owe you guys so much. I can't even begin to thank you enough. I will call out because this one I actually to caught. Humanity. This one I caught in time. So, courtesy of Master Phillips, and I apologize to you that I missed yours, Bella Stella, but I did get courtesy of Master Phillips, Mindy Stone, Arkansas Labs, Pete. AA9UU, Vermont Wayfaring Man, Savannah Escriva, Tia Marie. Hey, Tia Marie. She's been here a long time. I don't remember her getting gifted anytime recently, so I'm glad. I like when some of the veterans get them. Jose Garcia, Cheryl Torrey, Michael Curran, Hunter Carlos, all you gifted courtesy of Master Phillips. God bless you. God bless you. And the 10 of you who got from Bella Stella as well. God bless you guys. Welcome to the following. The following is not at all a cult type of cult. Not at all. I'm not even the leader of the following. I don't know. I'm not the leader. I'm not the leader. I'm a follower just like you. Those of you who are new to the following may be, because I saw some names I didn't recognize out there. So if you're new to the following, because this is the following program, and you just got gifted membership, some members become followers, and that has led to this gross misconception that the following is some type of cult. But those who are in the following are very well aware, very, very well aware, that the following is not at all a cult, type of cult. There's no spaceships, no tracksuits that are mandatory, no self-harm, no harming others, no stabbing yourself with the jabby jab, no squirrel mutilations, no goat sacrifices, no throwing virgins into volcanoes, no dancing around bonfires. It's got like no Kool-Aid. No Kool-Aid. Obviously, if this was a cult type of cult, there would be tons of Kool-Aid. Not at all a cult type. And I'm not the leader of the following. The following is really just, it's a gathering of individuals who are looking for community, unity, perhaps some leadership training and personal growth. So those of you who are new, welcome to the following. And just because it's called the following program, there's no programming that's happening here. No one's going to be programming anyone who's watching this show. You're not at all. It just means like episode, show type of thing. It's the following program. It's not It gets taken out of context. Very much taken out of context. It's not at all a cult type of cult. So, welcome. Welcome to the following. We have cookies. Today's show, we got a lot going on for you. And I'm going to tell you that I'm probably going to run a little longer than 2 hours, which is okay, because I'm probably going to be missing a few days, a whole bunch of days, because I got holidays coming up, and I'm going to be with the family, and we're going to be on vacation, and I'm going to be missing some time. I'm going to try to do a show Saturday night. I'm definitely not doing a show Sunday night. Definitely not doing a show Monday night. Those 2 nights are Passover. And I'm definitely not doing one Friday night. So I'm going to try to be in here late Saturday nights. But that's going to be for like my phone. It's not going to be like a whole computer setup. If I do it, it's literally going to be like me talking into my phone like this and like just holding it like this and just like talking to you just because I'll be in withdrawal otherwise. So it's not going to be a regular. It wouldn't even that if I do Saturday night, it's not going to be a regular show. Tuesday night, I might do another phone show. I don't know. Because I'm not going to have a computer. I'm not going to have access to anything. I don't have a camera or anything. So, we're in some dark times. We're going to, but yeah, Wednesday I'll be back. Wednesday I expect to be in court. I expect to be running around and doing stuff. So, yeah, it's a long week. I will miss you terribly. I will miss you. Anyhow, let me tell you what we got going on tonight. I'm going to stay till the job is done. First and foremost, I'm going to be going through Inner City Press, his breakdown as to the trial and what happened today. We're going to hear from some folks as to their perspectives as to the whole trial atmosphere and how it's going. Then we're going to look at Trump's efforts to take New York in the forthcoming 2024 presidential election, what kind of chances he has, and see that things have been changing. The landscape of New York seems to be shifting in ways that the Democrats certainly did not anticipate. And perhaps making them regret a little bit that they were so gung-ho about starting all these indictments, because it seems to be just like blowing up in their faces. I don't know. Just one man's opinion. And I don't even mean me. It was my neighbor. My neighbor told me that. So it's not even my opinion. Blame my neighbor. He's always just blabbing about this stuff. So, so we got that. So we got the New York. We got him surging New York. I'm going to talk a little bit about today's court. Today's Supreme Court. That's probably going to come at the end. Oh, and I definitely, before that, I want to cover a brand new bill introduced by Congress regarding the insurrection. And finally, before we close out, I plan on sharing with you just this hilarious meme that was created was shared on Locals. If you're on Locals, you might have seen it already, because that's where I found it. Someone shared with me at goodlogic.locals.com. Goodlogic.locals.com is where I saw it. That's where you could see it too. Or you can wait patiently for the next, 2 hours till I get there. Because I can't do it in the beginning, because it's almost definitely going to make my stream crash. It's going to make things just all messy and gross. Anyhow, without further ado, let me get through some of these super chats, and then I'm gonna jump right into today's developments at trial. Idaho Tater, has anyone famous reached out regarding your lawsuits? Good question. So I was on with Lou Valentino. He's more famous than I am. So if you consider me famous, which I don't, I consider myself an E-tier celebrity. I have a whole tier system. I should break down for you tiers just real quick. I've done this before, but it's been a long time. So an A-tier celebrity is someone who everyone's heard of. Everyone knows that guy. Everyone knows that person. Donald Trump, A-tier celebrity. Tom Cruise, A-tier celebrity. Tom Hanks, A-tier celebrity. There are very few exclusively political people who I would qualify as being A-tier. I mean, you can say Nancy Pelosi. That if someone says they don't know who that person is, you're like, you're lying. Yeah, it's not you really. You look at them like they're an idiot. That's A-tier. B-tier is someone who you expect people to know them, but every once in a while you'll be surprised. You'll be like, really? You never heard of Ben Shapiro? Okay, that's B-tier. When you're talking to someone, you throw the name out and assume that the person's going to know them. But you're not, every once in a while, you'll be like, really? Okay. All right. I guess you missed that one. All right. So that's B tier. C tier is you throw the person's name out. And when you're saying the person's name, you're thinking, good chance they know him. But I'm not at all surprised if you never heard of him. Because if you're not in that realm, you might not know him. Okay? So C tier, I would say, is more like, I don't know, consider like some B-level actor kind of thing. Right? I don't maybe Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh is a C tier. You mentioned the name Matt Walsh. You kind of figure good chance person heard of him. Not shocked. D tier is one that you sort of think they might have heard of him, but when they say they don't, more often than not, people are going to say they don't know him. They're more of like a cult type of level. Like it's like they have a cult type of following. Really, that's more Tim Pool type of thing, probably. Now I'm thinking about it. Russell Brand would be... Tucker Carlson is like B tier, right? Russell Brand is like B, C. He's in that area. Tim Pool's more like a D tier kind of thing. It's like, a lot of people you're going to mention him to are going to know him. But, you're not jumping in saying, of course you know him, right? E tier is you never heard of him. No one knows him. Nobody knows him. But they have like a following who think like, oh, wow, that would be a cool person to meet. So that's E tier. They have enough of a following as opposed to like no one like there's no one who. That's E tier. I'm at the very bottom of E tier, right? I would put Viva Fry like at the very top of E tier, maybe getting into D tier type of territory. That's the tiering system, and I think it's good. I think it makes sense. I think it's a healthy way. So when you talk about anyone famous reaching out, so I would put Megyn Kelly up there at like B or C tier. She has not reached out. I did so. Yeah, Lou Valentino reached out to me, and there was an article that was written about me in the Epoch Times. So I wasn't written about me. I was just sort of featured as one of several people involved or related to this gag suit. So I was very appreciative of that. That was something that was a nice start as far as, hey, someone might hear about me now, where there's actually my name is mentioned in there. And so that's something. That's definitely something. It seems as if my appearance in Newsweek is not going to happen, based on what the reporter's telling me. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen. But I'll share with you quickly. What was in the Epoch Times here. So the article is called. It was shared by Larry Elder. Trump fights gag order that experts call unconstitutional. And so there's a reference to me over here. An appeal filed by President Trump's lawyers is pending, and an independent New York attorney filed a challenge on the order on constitutional grounds. So this part over here, independent New York attorney. It seems like it's me because later on they actually mentioned me by name. To scroll way down, but I am in here. Oh, look at this, Mr. Neerman. So, yeah. As part of the effort to ungag Trump, attorney Joseph Neerman filed a lawsuit against Judge Merchan in a New York appellate court. In a 3-minute video posted on social media under the name Good Lawgic, Mr. Neerman said the lawsuit seeks to uphold the Constitution on behalf of all Americans. He asserts that Judge Merchan's order goes beyond the scope of Supreme Court rulings, cited as the gag order's legal foundation. That's true, I do. Mr. Neerman argues that any gag order must be tied to an effort to protect someone's constitutional rights. I do. But Judge Merchan's order makes no such linkage. Instead, the judge says he was taking the action to further, quote, the state's interest in the fair administration of justice. Very succinct, well broken down. That claim could be made about virtually any scenario, Mr. Neerman said during an oral argument about his April 12th challenge to a gag order. I think it was April 16th. But that's when I actually argued. Mr. Neerman said other attorneys responded with protestations, such as Donald Trump is scaring people. He retorts, those are not valid legal arguments, and there's no special law for someone who is scary. If this order is allowed to stand, it will quickly expand situations where the court is entitled to issue a gag order. Mr. Newman said in the video, calling for other lawyers to support his effort, and I still do, and I am calling for other lawyers. Attention Jay Sekulow. Attention Alan Dershowitz. Would be really nice to hear from you guys. Just a little nod. Jonathan Turley. You're mentioned later. He's mentioned after me, Jonathan Turley. He's mentioned after me. Legal scholar Jonathan Turley. He'd be great to come in. That'd be great. But yeah, so that's where it's at. I don't know if anyone else is going to reach out to me. I hope they do. More because this case merits the attention of legal scholars and not just one legal scholar. Wesley says, sorry to tell you, it will drop off by 200 soon. What will drop off by 200? I don't know what you mean. What's going to drop by 2? I missed. Oh, you're talking about my membership. Maybe. That's possible. Just finished watching you on Lou's channel. It was great. Yeah, he was fun. It was great. I had a great time talking with him. He's a cool guy. I like him a lot. Bella Stella, did you get any PayPal notification? I got one yesterday. I don't check PayPal regularly, to be honest with you. I'll check it like once a day. And because otherwise, so but I will check now. Now that you mention it. Now that you throw it out there. Oh, it looks like I got a notification. Oh wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Bella. You're really too kind. I want to say thank you to Michelle Myers and Elizabeth. While you got me here on PayPal, and Elizabeth Morris. Each of you, I'm going to give you each one of these. Some of you complaining about the horn. There's 2 more coming. So that was for you, Bella, and for Michelle. There's 1 more coming for Elizabeth. So, yeah. Some of you are very kind discreetly, and I just wanted to say I appreciate you. I never think to bring it up in the middle of a show, and I don't really have an ability to respond on PayPal with the way my phone. I don't know why, but Kathy, your realtor in Jersey, says the following does have one ritual: third person Thursday. It is third person Thursday. I forgot. It is third person Thursday. Good Lawgic. Totally forgot about that. Bella Stella with another 20, count them, 20 memberships. This one I got. This one I think I got. 20. Friggin'. My God. Woman. Earl Ward. Following people gifted memberships courtesy of Bella Stella. Earl Ward. Nicholas Speedy Apple. Sully Bach. Jocelina Gamer. S.H. Mona Moon. Limited State. DeWalt. Jason Newton. Cara Ann. Pinochet. Helicopter Tours. Hey, Pinochet. Elquita. Josh and LST. Hamilton Burger. Tweak FU. Henry G. Patty Pignatelli. Toniel Herbin. All of you gifted courtesy of the ever generous Bella Stella. Thank you so much, Bella. Thank you. You know, a lot of famous people to come up with this. What do you mean? To come up with the whole tier system? I'm just saying, like, I think that I categorize people. It's a logical way to sort of look at it, because when people, I understand people look at me as that. There's some people look at me as being a celebrity. I don't look at myself that way at all. I know some people do. That's why I qualify as an E level celebrity in my own brain. But it's like, if you mention me to someone, they're not going to have heard of me. Unless it's someone like in this chat, you know what I'm saying? Or someone who you know is following me. They're not going to have heard of me. That's the point. Like someone you meet in the street. I'm not someone who's going to be if I get recognized by someone, it's surprising. Like very surprising. Like, oh wow, you've seen the show. Like it's happened a few times. And every time I've been like, really? Oh, cool. Thanks. Appreciate that. Wow, our little Joey makes the Epoch Times. I did. Zully, thank you so much. Thank you for the gift. I appreciate the thought. Let's get into the Threadreader app. I am using Threadreader app to get into Inner City Press, and we're going to follow what was happening today in the Trump trial. Let's go! Okay, now at Trump trial, April 25th, courtesy of Matthew Lee of Inner City Press. National Enquirer David Pecker, direct examination will continue, but Justice Merchan's gag order contempt ruling. Before that? No, it didn't happen. Inner City Press wrote the first booklet and will live tweet the thread below. Trump has arrived, now sits whispering into the ear of his lawyer, Emil Bove, poses for pool photographers, blue suit, red tie, still waiting, Justice Merchan, 9:34 a.m. All rise. People versus Donald J. Trump, Justice Merchan. Would you like to go over what went over yesterday, Mr. Bove? Bove responds, we received your Honor's email about embedded hearsay. We conferred with the government. It was helpful. Prosecutor Steinglass, I think we can start with the jury. In the first 2 hours, there's only one document that's disputed. So we don't have to worry about hearsay being embedded in. Embedded hearsay basically means that we're going to share with you something, but part laced in there into this whole thing, let's say in a document, it'll be like a document which a lot of it is admissible, but in there are certain statements which are hearsay. So it's like embedded into another piece of evidence. So that's what they mean when they're talking about embedded hearsay. It's always a struggle for the court because most of it's admissible, but some of it may not be, and they sort of have to figure out, does that have to be redacted? Do they leave it in and have a caution? Is there an exception to hearsay? So that's what they mean when they talk about embedded hearsay, normally. Trump's lawyer, Bove, on that one, our position is that a redaction will be necessary. See? That's why he's talking about redaction. Merchant says, we'll deal with this in the break. Okay, Prosecutor Conroy. We have another order to show cause. Video clips, including of what the defendant said just outside the courtroom in his press conferences, or whatever they are. Or whatever they are. It's talking about like when he comes out and the media is waiting and they're all snapping and he walks up to a bunch of microphones. Is that a press conference? I guess. He's like his press conferences or whatever they are. He said Cohen got caught lying. When are they coming to look at that? Is that about his testimony? He's not allowed to talk about what Cohen's testifying about. Maybe it's got nothing to do with that. Maybe he was caught lying about, I don't know. Maybe he was caught lying about being admitted to the bar. I don't know. Maybe he was caught lying about being a unicorn. I don't know. Who says that's about his testimony? Could have been caught lying about anything. And if it's about, those times, lying and denying that he's a furry, it could be that. He was caught lying. He said he's not a furry, and that was a lie. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. When he said Michael Cohen got caught lying, it really could mean anything. And if it's not about his testimony, he's allowed to say that. Prosecutor Conroy says, defendant says the judge picked the jury so quickly, 95% Democrats. Then an interview on a Pennsylvania TV station, quote, David Pecker, I don't know exactly what he'll be testifying about. He's talking about witnesses, but he's not talking about what they're saying, so why is that a problem? There's a lot of mentioned witnesses. All right, this morning the defendant did a press event on 49th Street and Park Avenue. He said David Pecker is a nice guy. This just before his testimony. It's a message to him and other witnesses. Be nice. Find him in contempt. Okay. Justice Merchant, please bring in the witness. It's done. Mr. Pecker, I remind you, you're still under oath. Bring in the jury. So apparently the judge wants to mull these over, see if they violate the order or not. And what if they do, what steps he's going to take. Yesterday, when confronted with this, the assistant district attorney said that finding him in contempt should result in financial penalties, which could be like, I don't know, $1,000 per statement, $10,000 per statement, who knows? Could be anything. Engoron gave financial penalties when he felt that Trump breached his gag order. And the ADA does not see, he said, yesterday the ADA said, we are not asking for him to be imprisoned for breaching the gag order. but we do think that he's in violation and there should be financial penalties. So every day, it's like they collate his statements and say, here's new ones, we're telling. That's essentially what the district attorney has become. All right, so Merchant says, please bring in the witness. It's done. Mr. Pecker, I remind you, still on the oath. Bring in the jury. Jury enters. Let's resume on Miss McDougal. So she was a playmate who purportedly had an ongoing relationship with Trump for roughly a year, based on previous testimony. She was 47 years old and said she had a sexual relationship with Mr. Trump. Pecker says, prosecutor, did you have a three-way call with Dylan Howard and Michael Cohen that day? Yes. Immediately, Michael Cohen, it's not true, which is something that he always said. Then he said, I'll check it out and get back to you. Okay. Did Michael Cohen say to buy the story? Yes. Dylan said ABC wanted to buy the story. They offered her a slot on Dancing with the Stars, and a Mexican group wanted to buy it for $1 million. $1 million. I missed this. Salty Sarge says, Joe is not the leader of the following. No wonder these cats were lost in the desert for 40 years. Stop and ask for directions, for Christ's sake. RPP says, yes, Joe, I've been on your call-in show twice. So now I'm a famous celebrity. I've heard of and reached out to you regarding your lawsuit. Be happy. Thank you. I am happy. I'm very happy. Sorry I missed that earlier. And I haven't checked my other thing here. I should check. Stay on top of that, because if I don't do that, it's not going to be good. People are going to be mad at me. All right, I was checking up. Triggered says, I can't read that tip thing. It's confusing. Here's some money. I have no idea how much it will be until I hit send. Oh, cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's very thoughtful. Pecker says, Dylan said Miss McDougal didn't want to be the next Monica Lewinsky. She wanted to restart her career. Now, understand, Monica Lewinsky, this relationship with McDougal supposedly happened well before he was in office. I think they said it was like in 2014, like before he announced anything. So I guess after the fact, now that he's been in office, that's when they mean Monica Lewinsky. Clearly a reference to the woman who had a relationship with Bill Clinton while he was in office. She had a cover with us, and Dylan said she'd like to bring the story to us, American media. Her attorney was Keith Davidson. I thought we should buy it. Prosecutor, you had a conversation with Donald Trump about this. Yes, I was, and it was an investors meeting in New Jersey. The assistant said, there's a call for you from Donald Trump. I took it. Mr. Trump said to me, I spoke to Michael. Karen is a nice girl. So that's what Trump had to say about Karen McDougal. Pecker said, Mr. Trump asked, is there a Mexican group out there that will buy the story for $8 million? $8 million. That's a lot more than $1 million. I said no, but I thought we should buy the story. The defendant called Miss McDougal a nice girl. Yes, I believe he knew who she was. Pecker says, Mr. Trump told me he doesn't buy stories because it always gets out. Prosecution, did Michael Cohen then call you? Pecker says, the next day, he said, you should go ahead and buy the story. I said, I'll have Dylan Howard negotiate, but who's going to pay? Matt Cohen told me the boss will take care of it. Okay. Who did you understand the boss to be? Donald Trump. I told Dylan Howard to go negotiate to buy the story. Did you discuss terms? Pecker said, $150,000 for lifetime rights. That's a lot less than $8 million. That's just my take. I add that. That's a lot less than $8 million. It's a lot less than $1 million. Pecker says, excuse me, she also wanted to appear in our magazine. She had a problem with her breast implants and wanted to write about it in Shape magazine and to anchor red carpet events for Radar. Prosecutor says, how often did you speak with Michael Cohen? Pecker says, daily. I told Michael Cohen, why should I pay? I just paid $30,000 for the Dorman story. But who's going to reimburse me $150,000? He said, the boss will take care of it. People's 173A, start with page 1, texts with Dylan Howard. Now, all of this, by the way, all these payments, none of them have anything to do with the charges. Just so you can be clear as we're going through this. They're trying to establish that there was this pattern of this catch and kill. catch and kill, in case you're unfamiliar with how they're using that term, is that they would catch a story, meaning buy it, buy the rights to it, and then not report it. And that would be the way they would catch the story and kill the story. Question is whether the objective of this catch and kill, the critical question is, was catch and kill designed to help his election efforts, or was it designed for other reasons? Because plenty of celebrities engage in catch and kill because they don't want to hurt their PR. So this guy's the star of The Apprentice. Negative stories coming out about him could hurt ratings, could hurt his bottom line. So that's what he's doing a lot of. It's just sort of how he rolls. In fact, the story with the doorman that they reference here, they paid $30,000 for. Everyone said, we don't believe it. Supposedly, the doorman had some story about Trump getting some woman pregnant, which Trump was like, take a DNA test. Definitely not mine. And they were pretty positive that there was no truth to it. But rather than having to just refute the false story, they're like, if we can give him $30,000 and not have to have that headache, that's money well spent. So, prosecutor says, here's Dylan Howard texted that he spoke with MC about that other issue. What did you understand that to mean? Pecker says, can you clarify? Prosecutor says, I can't testify. But was a contract signed with Karen McDougal? Yes, the first week of August 2016. So that does seem close in time to the election of November 2016, right? Prosecutor, were you concerned about buying a story? Yes, I bought a story before for Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was buying Flex. I was told I had to meet Arnold, who said he wanted our tabloids to not run anything against me. He was running for governor. Pecker says there were women selling stories about relationships with Arnold or sexual harassment by him. I would buy them up, but one we didn't buy, and she sold it to the LA Times. One we didn't buy, and she sold it to the LA Times. It was very embarrassing for me. Pecker says, so I became sensitive about buying any stories in the future. Well, what did you take away from this? I wanted to be comfortable with the agreement that Karen McDougal met all the obligations with respect to a campaign contribution. Interesting. Okay. I told, at least now we're starting to get into campaign contribution talk here. I told Michael Cohen that we consulted with a campaign attorney, People's 156. Pecker says, the Karen McDougal contract, I wanted to substantiate the $150,000 payment with the campaign finance laws that the money was for services to AMI. Were the provisions about work for AMI meant to disguise the payment for the life rights to the story? Yes. Did you have any intention of publishing the story? No, I did not. Now, again, none of this is legal. None of this is remotely illegal. Just so you can be aware of that. I should remind everyone that I am not the leader of the following. Worcestershire is the leader of the following. She is. Prosecutor says, who were aware of the Trump side? Pecker says, Matt Cohen. What about Donald Trump? Objection, leading, sustained. Oh, look at this! Trump's attorneys. Objection and sustained. Their objections were sustained. Nice. Nice. You go. All right. What about Donald Trump does seem like a leading question. So who was aware on the Trump side? So what about AMI's general ledger and this invoice? Pecker says, from Keith Davidson, we wired $150,000 into his escrow accounts. Is the payment voucher? Yes. Were you aware of the coordinated contributions? Objection. Sidebar on Trump's lawyer above's objection. Merchant says, objections overruled. Prosecutor says, meeting and coordination are unlawful. Did you report to the FEC? That's the Federal Elections Commission. Pecker says, no, we did not. Why did AMI make this purchase? So it wouldn't run. Okay. Prosecutor, why? We didn't want it to embarrass Mr. Trump or the campaign. Mr. Trump or the campaign. Okay. Who's we? Michael Cohen, did you walk about Mr. Trump actually acquiring the right? This is probably a typo. Probably was talk about. Yes, Cohen said I should have signed the contract to him. Then he says, Cohen called me constantly to get all the files, the boxes from Florida. Did he say why Donald Trump wanted them? That if I got hit by a bus or the company was acquired, he didn't want the material published. See, that's not what the prosecutor wanted Pecker to say. He wanted Pecker to say that he wanted them to make sure it didn't hurt his campaign. Because the whole key here is, are you buying it to help your campaign? In which case, Bragg wants to claim that makes it now campaign donation when you're paying that money out, and you have to recognize it as being that. Or was it to help his PR in general because he's a celebrity and doesn't like having bad PR? Or to stop his wife from hearing about it? Or so he can sit there and read the story over to himself and basically, I don't know, turn it into an audiobook. There could be any reason that he's buying it. So then I met Karen. We were at Mar-a-Lago. So what he wants him to say is to help the campaign, but instead Pecker says that if I got hit by a bus or the company was acquired, that the story would get leaked. Not really helpful to Bragg. Pecker says, I told Michael Cohen what Karen McDougal was doing for us, I valued at $25,000. So I'd sell the lifetime rights for $125,000. Michael Cohen wanted it done yesterday. Here's the invoice, People 161. This is from a company owned by Daniel Rothstein. He lives in Plantation, Florida. He would write check for us, for example, for paparazzi photographers. So I wanted the Trump Organization check to go through him. Michael created resolution consultants. Okay. Justice Merchant says, jurors, this is not offered for the truth, only that it existed. What? This is not offered for the truth, only that it existed. So I don't know if Matthew Lee missed something here, which is possible. So I'm not going to critique the judge on what he says here, because understand that it's being filtered through a guy who's typing as fast as he can, and it's very challenging for anyone to do that. I'm simply saying that the way this is phrased is very difficult for me to understand this, because it seems as if there was an objection hearsay that got thrown in here. Or maybe this is part of the embedded hearsay, that there's a claim that Michael created resolution consultants, and we don't know that he had, and Pecker doesn't know that. The only way Pecker knows that is because Michael Cohen claimed he did that, but that doesn't mean he actually did it. Maybe someone else did it, maybe whatever. So he seems to be saying just that it's not to say that Michael Cohen's the one who created it, but that there is this thing called resolution consultants. I guess that's why Judge Merchant is letting it in. Which, okay. Prosecutor says, can you give us a shorter answer on why you use Daniel Rothstein? Because he's a Jew and he's got money. Oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud? I did not want a payment in AMI from Donald Trump or Michael Cohen. Okay. Why not? Other editors would find out about it, and I did not want that. What was the name of Daniel Rothstein's company? Investor Advisory Services, Inc. I assume Michael Cohen was being reimbursed. Then I decided to reverse it. Michael Cohen said, the boss is going to be very upset with you. I told him, I'm not going forward. Did AMI ever get reimbursed? No. Let's break. I'm a little confused as to what exactly is happening here with this transfer of funds. It's not clear here to me exactly. Seems like someone else is purchasing it, and they didn't want there to be a paper trail that would lead back to Trump or Michael Cohen. That Pecker didn't want there to be a paper trail. Perhaps because that would taint his company, the National Enquirer, which is what AMI is. If it was clear, it was evident that he's serving as a proxy to help catch and kill stories. That's my guess. That's my best guess. But I will caution you that I'm speculating here on testimony that's being spoken a mile a minute. I will tell you this. Right now I'm going through Matthew Lee's version. I tried looking through Adam Klasfeld's, and it's very scant, and it's Threadreader app really struggled with it because he broke it into different threads, and it was just very confusing. It was very, very confusing. Any further days that I'm going through testimony, you can get the full text. It comes out like a day later, and I'm thinking about actually going through the trial a day late just so I can actually go through the transcript. Now, even when you go through a transcript, you're not fully getting the feel of being there in the courtroom because you don't get tone, you don't get overall feeling. Sometimes things are said sarcastically. Court reporter just takes it all down, and whether something is said with sincerity or complete sarcasm, it all reads as being sincere. So it's almost like there's a Key and Peele sketch where they have this text message going back and forth where, two friends are talking. The guy's like, dude, you were late. And the guy's like, oh, I'm sorry. Were you waiting for me? He's like, I'm sorry. Was I waiting for you? You know I was waiting for you. And he texts back to him. He's like, so what? He's basically texting back to him. I don't even know which one's which. But the skinnier one is basically getting angrier and angrier with every text. Is that Peel? Is that Key? I think that's Key. So he's getting angrier and angrier with every text. He's like, "Oh, okay. So you want to go down and you want to go with me?" And the guy's like, "Oh, sure. Okay, that sounds like fun. Yeah, let's go now." "Oh, right now? Okay, I'm going down there now." And that's basically having two different conversations, and because that's what text works, and that's how things often make mistakes when you're reading a transcript. That you just don't get the vibe. You don't get the vibe. You can try to guess what it is. Try to guess. But it is better than what limited abilities any individual can do sitting there in a courtroom that don't have the capacities of a court reporter. Pekka says, then I decided to reverse him. I couldn't say the boss is going to be very upset with you. I told him not going forward. Did AMI get reversed? No, let's break 20 minutes before the jury comes back in. This document, in which AMI's general counsel releases Sajidin, that's the doorman, you may need another witness to bring it in evidence. Well, that's interesting. Why? Trump's lawyer Bove. The next one is from Dylan Howard, who's not testifying. Please redact it. Interesting. Why is Dylan? Oh, Dylan Howard, I think, has an illness, they say. They say he has an illness, so he's not going to be able to testify. That's my recollection. Merchant says, I think there are details that could be redacted, meaning we can save it by redacting some of this. Prosecutor says, we'll send around some proposed redactions to defense counsel. Trump's lawyer Bove. This is a text message between Dylan Howard and prosecutor. Whoa! Sorry, I didn't mean that. What? What? What happened? I want to know what happens. Whoa! I didn't mean that. Sorry, I didn't mean that. But they've been using the name Dylan Howard a lot. Maybe he was about to use some name that he can't use. What was he going to say? Was he going to say Voldemort? What was he going to say? I want to know what he was going to say. I don't know what he was going to say. I didn't mean to mention a name. It's a first-degree relative of Mr. Howard, but it was on an AMI device. Oh, that's why. I'm guessing it was not Voldemort. That's my best guess. I'm not saying that for certain. I'm just saying my best guess is it's not that he was going to say Voldemort, but a relative of Dylan Howard who's not testifying, and they're trying to keep out of the record so that people don't, harass that individual. Not that anyone sane would harass any of these folks, because it's just better to be sane and not just be harassing people who come up and are named in a trial. Merchant says, you're saying they're business records? I'm saying they're authenticated. They're authenticated, that doesn't mean it's not a hearsay problem, though. So it might have really gone to that person, but that doesn't make it not hearsay. A business record is an exception to hearsay. So that's what Justice Merchant is looking for here. Authenticate means it actually was between these people. So when I talk about text messages between Key and Peel, assuming they actually had been saying those text messages back and forth, so I can authenticate it actually came from Key. And this one came from Peel. It's authenticated that it came from this phone to that phone and sent, that it's authenticated, that it was actual, as opposed to some Photoshop thing that was made. It's authenticated, but that still would be hearsay. Business records are like, no, this is not a hearsay problem because there's a business record exception to hearsay that has added credibility, that the words and the content of the information that's being shared with the jury, we have reason to give it added credibility because it was recorded in the normal course of business and not for purposes of generating future testimony. So that's the business hearsay exception. So Merchant is basically saying, is this going to get us past hearsay? And the response to prosecutor of they're authenticated doesn't get you past hearsay. Prosecutor says Dylan Howard texted to his relative. Candidate denies, but I'm going to interview. Relative, why are you going if you're not going to publish it? Howard wrote, information is powerful and I'm collecting a lot. Only DP knows. Burner phones. Who DP is, I don't know. Is that Pecker? That's probably Pecker. That's Pecker. It's probably David Pecker. I think that's his first name. Prosecutor says, so we think all of that shows Dylan Howard's state of mind. That's still hearsay. That's still, come on, you can't let that in, Judge. You can't let that in. Come on, that's still hearsay. That's still hearsay. We think all that shows Dylan's state of mind. Then there are the election night texts. Dylan Howard texted his relative, at least if he wins, I'll be pardoned for electoral fraud. That doesn't mean he knows anything about what electoral fraud is. That doesn't mean anything. There's no way that can be admissible. There's no way that's admissible. Dylan Howard, who's not testifying, he has to testify in order to get past the hearsay problem of his text messages. So if Dylan Howard doesn't testify, the recipient of the text message doesn't testify, you got a hearsay problem with getting these text messages in. And the reasons for this is because if you think about this, Dylan Howard thinking he might have committed electoral fraud, you need to get him on the stand to question, why did you think that? What part of this did you think was electoral fraud? Maybe it's got nothing to do with this trial. Or, we understand, who cares about what his state of mind is? The point is we need to be able to vet this. There's no way that can be, that's classic hearsay. There's no, Howard Chen, how you let that in, which at this point, he's not letting it in. He said, I don't want to think about it. Okay. Doesn't sound like there's much to think about in my opinion, but maybe Merchan is smarter than I am and he can come up with other reasons why this is not a hearsay problem. I don't know. Justice Merchan says, I'll consider this again over lunch, but that they come off in an AMI device is not enough for me. Oh, good for you. Okay. Are we going to be done with Mr. Pecker today, direct and cross? Prosecutor says, I have a good 2 to 3 hours left. Wow. This prosecutor is spending a lot of time with Pecker. A lot of time. He's investing a lot in Pecker here. Trump lawyers both says we're not going to finish today. Merchant, let's get the witness and the jury. Pecker, you remain under oath. After the election, you released Dino Sajidin. Yes, in December 2016. And the Access Hollywood tape? A conversation between Mr. Trump and Billy Bush. Mr. Trump said, you can grab a woman by the genitals. It was damaging for the campaign. What's this email about a post on Radar? Take it down. Please read it. Howard wrote to Michael Cohen that the Playboy Man story was on Radar before we bought the site. It was also sent to Hope Hicks. Hope Hicks was Trump's assistant in charge of PR, I think, or something of that nature. Some role in that, along those lines. Did you ever email with Donald Trump? Never. When did you hear about Stormy Daniels? I was having dinner with my wife, and I got a call from Dylan Howard. He said Keith Davidson and Miss Rodriguez, an agent for those types of celebrities, that Stormy was selling a story about sex with Trump. Prosecutor says, can you read from your text with Dylan Howard? He wrote to me the price is $120,000. There's also interest from the mail and GMA. I responded, I don't want AMI linked to a porn star. It would be bad with Walmart, our biggest distributor. So Pecker wasn't very excited about buying the Stormy Daniels story. I told him we already paid the doorman $30,000, $150,000 Karen McDougal. I'm not a bank. So Dylan Howard contacted Michael Cohen. I spoke with Michael too. He asked me to pay for the story. I said, no, I'm not going to be involved with a porn star. Packers says Dylan came to my office near the end of October. Michael Cohen was supposed to wire the money to Keith Davidson, but didn't. Dylan was worried he'd lose the sources. Michael Cohen says, David, you should pay. I said, no, you buy it or the boss will be angry. So they're having a whole fight about who's going to pay Stormy. Prosecutor says, is this a record of your interview with the FBI? Yes. Prosecutor says 302B, page 5. That's the evidence reference. What did you make? Why did you make the calls on Signal? Michael said to use it, things are deleted after a time. Did there come a time that Keith Schiller told you that Karen McDougal was going to ABC? Yes. I checked with Dylan Howard, who said it's not true. I told Keith, and he said the boss is very pleased, but then the journal was calling our Spocks. Packer says, Mr. Trump was very mad. He told me we must have been leaking. I said, no. It must have been Karen McDougal, but Trump was agitated. Our call ended abruptly. What do you mean? He didn't say goodbye, which was very rare. Prosecutor, why did you put out a statement that AMI doesn't pay? Why did you put out a statement that AMI does not pay to kill stories? He says, I want to protect my company and myself and Donald Trump. I asked Dylan to call Keith Davidson, who said Karen was in Arizona not taking calls. It's Karen McDougal. Packer says, Karen has another lawyer approach us, asking for the agreement to be amended. I thought it should be, now that the Wall Street Journal was out, I thought she should have a media consultant reporting to us. Then Michael told me he wasn't reimbursed for Stormy Daniels. Michael told me he didn't yet get his bonus. He asked me to speak to Donald Trump to help him get his bonus. And I did that. I told Trump that I believed Cohen would go in front of a bus for me. Mr. Trump said Cohen owns 50 taxi medallions. If you're not from New York, you don't know what a taxi medallion is. I'm not sure. I don't really know what the context is here, because he just says go in front of a bus for me, and now you're referring to taxi medallions. I will tell you, taxi medallions are the yellow cabs are licensed by the city, and they get a medallion. Apparently, they're very expensive. I don't know why, and I don't know if they're nearly as expensive or as valuable now that Uber is such a big thing. But it used to be like you could not actually taxi people around the city unless there was like a special value to those medallions and being a yellow cab. So I don't know if they're unionized. I don't know the whole story about it, other than I recall 35 years ago hearing how they were worth a couple $100,000 a piece. So that they were very expensive. I don't know why it's coming up in this context here, unless it's a joke that it's like he's saying he'd jump in front of a bus for you. He's like, well, he's got 50 taxi medallions. It could have come out that way. This is the problem with trying to read a cold transcript, or a facsimile of a cold transcript. Packer says, Trump and Michael said Michael had apartments in my building. I'll take care of it. Then I was invited to Trump Tower, but there was no more security. But there was more security than I ever seen. Jared Kushner saw me and took me upstairs to Trump's office, or the waiting room. In the waiting room, Keith Schiller said, how's our girl, meaning Karen McDougal. Then I was summoned in. Mike Pompeo and others were there telling him about the Fort Lauderdale shooting that day. Trump introduced me as the head of the National Enquirer. Ms. Trump told them that I knew more than anyone in the room. It was a joke, but they didn't get it. Oh, I guess a joke about how he knows his dark secrets. I don't know. They left, and Trump asked me, how's my girl, or how's our girl? He thanked me for the doorman story. Meaning what? For buying them. Did you think he wanted those stories about for his family or for the campaign? So Packer says the campaign. He did not mention his family, so I assumed the campaign. Assumed. You need proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And he's got, I assume the campaign. This is their best witness. You start with your best witness. So I assume the campaign. This is not going well for Bragg. Did he mention that Melania or Ivanka would think? No. He invited me to the inauguration. I asked, how will we speak? He said he'd get a phone only for friends, but it never transpired. We left it like that. Mershon says, this is a good time for break. Jurors leave, voir dire his book. All right, Pecker leaves. Mershon to the parties. Come back so we can start at 2:15. And then they break for lunch. Okay, they're back. Let me just check up over here while we're on a break. Mr. E. My first ever $20 super chat. I just watched you on Lou Valentino. Double speed, double rants are best rants. Great job. All hail, dear leader. War horn for me. I'll give you another one. So there you go. The new and improved war horn. It's not quite this, but between Dylan Howard and Captain Redacted. No, I said grab them when they're pushy. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Breck Nichols says, Joe, these rendezvous girls are trying to connect with me. Can you hook me up? Asking for a friend. Sorry. Friend. I don't know who the rendezvous girls are. I don't know who the rendezvous girls are. Salty says, Joe's not the leader following. No, oh, I got that. I got you already. Okay. All right. We're still good. I'm still good. All right. After lunch, Steinglass says, let's turn to July 2017. Did you visit the White House? I did. I received a call from Trump's assistant, Madeline. I don't remember her last name. Trump invited my wife and me for a thank you dinner. My wife didn't want to go. Trump told me I could bring friends and associates. It was my thank you dinner. Did you take Dylan Howard and Daniel Rothstein? Yes, I did. We had a grand old time. Karen McDougal come up? Yes, she did. Trump asked me, how's Karen doing? I told him she's quiet. It's good. Did you and Dylan Howard take photos? Yes. What's this photo? Jury showed a black and white photo of Dylan Howard, then one of Trump and Becker. In August 2017, did you meet with Karen McDougal? Yes, at Il Postino with Dylan and Keith Davidson. Karen talked about the article she was pairing with the ghostwriters. Dylan had to change them to work better with her. My purpose was to make sure we were complying with our agreement, keep her in our family, that she not speak to the press. Steinglass says, now to January 2018. Did another article come out that my Cohen paid Stormy Daniels? Yes. Now to March 2018. Did you learn Karen McDougal was interviewed by Anderson Cooper? Yes, I watched it. Next day, Trump called me. Donald, he says to me, did you see the Stormy Daniels? Prosecutor, I'm only asking about Karen. He said, did you see the interview with Anderson Cooper and Karen McDougal? I thought we had an agreement. I told him I amended it. He got aggravated. He couldn't understand why. Why did he do that? Did you speak with him and the White House staff? Yes. Hope Hicks was on the call. Sanders, Huckabee. I said I would extend her contract. He thought that was a bad idea, but said, it's your business. Do what you think. It's your business. Do what you think. This is not about my campaign. This is all your business. Did Miss McDougal sue MI? Yes, she wanted to back her lifetime rights. I told Matt Cohen, I'm not going to litigate this. I'm going to give her back her lifetime rights. Okay. Now what about Stormy Daniels? Trump asked if I'd seen it. She was violating the agreement, $1 million per use of name. Did you receive a letter from the FEC and call Mike Cohen? I did. I told Michael, I'm worried. He said, why? Jeff Sessions is the Attorney General. Donald Trump has him in his back pocket. Did you enter into a non-prosecution agreement with the SDNY? Yes. Did the agreement objection overruled? Okay. Is this the agreement? Yes. Who is the candidate? Trump. They read from the non-prosecution agreement. Who was the model? Karen McDougal. AMI has also agreed to implement several improvements to ensure compliance. Did you sign a cooperation agreement with my office, District Attorney of New York? Yes. They read from the DA's agreement. Were you given immunity at the grand jury? I was. Did AMI reach a conciliation agreement with the FEC? Yes. It was after I left the company, but I think they paid a fine of $180,000. Did you learn of FBI searches of Matt Cohen's home? Yes, they came from my home, and I learned the search of Matt Cohen's apartment. When was the last time you spoke with the defendant? 2019. Did Trump reach out to you? Not directly. Friends would go to Mar-a-Lago, and Mr. Trump would send his regards. Do you have a bad feeling toward him? No. Let me give you an example. After 9/11, anthrax was sent to our offices in Boca Raton. An employee died. Wow. 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 That's terrible. I was down. First person to call me is Donald Trump. He introduced me to insurers. Thank you, Mr. Pecker. No further questions. You're a witness. All right. And that's it for the direct. Let's get into the cross. May we approach, Your Honor? Whisper Cerberus. Okay. You were an executive at AMI 1999-2020, right? Yes. You had board investors? Yes. You had a duty to make money for investors, and you engaged in checkbook journalism, right? Yes. You only published about half the stories you bought, right? Sounds about right. You bought a lot of stories and killed them. Give me examples of why you wouldn't publish. We'd vet. We'd see if there was an interest. We might trade it for another story. You might buy a story to gain leverage over a celebrity to give an interview or their likeness. Yes. From 2015 to 2017, Dylan Howard was Chief Content Officer. Yes. Daniel Rothstein, he had the company call up the People's Exhibit, the Invoice. He used him to take care of large sensitive payments, right? Yes. So Howard used Rothstein to take care of big payments. What was circulation national required then? 350,000. 70% from newsstand sales? Yes. You had researchers and model to maximize profit. And president was top selling celebrity, right? Yes. You had the launch of George magazine at Mar-a-Lago, right? Yes. And Trump Style magazine. For a long time, you had a strategy of not publishing negative stories about President Trump, right? Correct. It's not about the campaign. They never said anything bad about Trump. That's part of the reason everyone loved him. For many decades. There's a lot of good PR. All the way back in 1998, you let Trump know about a negative story about Marla Maples. Oh, I remember the Marla Maples story. That's how old I am. I did. You didn't stop it, but you tried, right? Right. And you ran positive Trump stories to make money? Yes. Before this case, you never heard the phrase catch and kill, right? Right. It was the prosecutors who taught you the phrase, right? Yes. You have similar relationships with other politicians too, right? Yes. We do this with lots of folks. We do this all the time. This is not like anything weird. You did this for Ron Perlman of Revlon too, right? You stopped a story against an opening of Planet Hollywood in which he owned a stake, right? I did. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, you needed his blessing and reached an agreement. He was given an equity stake and positions in the company. Then women came out of the woodwork, 30 or 40 of them. Yes, we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to purchase stories. You sent Gigi Goyette to Hawaii? Yes. You purchased a story concerning Tiger Woods? Yes? Yes, a source agreement. And photos of a woman meeting with Tiger Woods with parking lot in Florida. You used them to force him to appear on the cover of Men's Fitness. That's how he got on the cover of Men's Fitness. You know how you got that? Tiger, we got this story here. I don't really want to run it. I don't think you want me to run it. Really appreciate it if you could just do like a cover for us on Men's Fitness. You know, no one really needs to read all this boring story stuff about you and some woman. You know one needs that. Just come on down. Do a quick 1 hour photo shoot. Whole things take 20 minutes, in and out. Such a sleazy world. It's such a sleazy world. Whew. All right. Trump's lawyer. You've suppressed negative stories for Ari Emanuel, too, right? Him or one of his celebrities. Who? Mark Wahlberg. He had an argument with his wife. Story was going to come out. I told him where to buy the rights. And you did it for Rahm Emanuel, who worked in the Obama White House, right? Yes. An affair after he left the White House. You did this while pursuing a business venture in Chicago, right? Wasserstein Perella. He remembers the name. That's an interesting name. I guess maybe that's why he remembers it. You told the grand jury a meeting with Trump took place in early August, but then you changed to mid-August, right? I don't recall. You were under oath of the grand jury, right? Yes. But now you changed it. Objection! Sustain. It's hard to remember, right? Yes. Your mind fills in gaps, correct? It's very hazy in there in your memory. Very hazy. Your mind fills in gaps, correct? Yes. How many meetings with prosecutors this year? 4, maybe 5? You met federal prosecutors too. How many times? 5 or 6 times. Then the DA's office, they practiced with you. Not a script, but you knew it was coming, right? Yep. So this is not like, all off the cuff. We all knew what was happening here. This is all orchestrated. It's important to get this out for the jury. So it's like, this is, a drama that's being created for you. That doesn't mean it's not true, but everyone's playing their parts here. You need to understand that. It's not like, oh, let me learn some new information from you. They're going over this back and forth here. Mike Cohen, he asked for you for help that had nothing to do with President Trump, right? Yes. To help with his daughter rock climbing company, right? Yes. Cohen told you he was not working for the campaign. Yes. Soon the FBI came to your house. He was subject to an FEC inquiry. It was important for you to get everything out, right? Yes. He would have gone to jail. That's part of his deal. Is that if he hides anything that they want, that he can go to jail. But you didn't tell anyone Hope Hicks participated in the meeting, right? Objection! Please approach. Sustained. Before the break, when asked, you did not mention Hope Hicks, right? Can I see what you're referring to? I'll bring it up only for Mr. Pecker and the parties. Lawyer, this is still continuing cross-examination here. This is a report on the meeting we're talking about. You did not tell the government that Hope Hicks was there in the Trump Tower meeting. I don't know what page you're referring to. That's why I gave you the document. And on August 2nd, 2028. That's not the right date. They probably mean 2018. I'm going to assume it's a typo from Matthew Lee. You met again with the prosecutors about the August 2015 meeting. Yeah, that's got to be 2018. I need to see the report. You need to see a report to remember? Yes. At no point did you mention Hope Hicks. Objection! You also testified to the grand jury. Objection! May we approach, Judge? We don't like the way he's cross-examining. It's not good. It's not good. It's not fair. It's making it evident that he didn't remember stuff, and that it's implying to the jury that maybe the jury's going to think that we helped him with his memory. Maybe that's going to. We don't like that. Please. That's an objection. It's not good for that to come out. We don't want that. Please. That's an objection. Or maybe they have a valid objection. I don't really know. Maybe there's something more valid. No, you shouldn't insinuate from anything I'm saying that they were just pushing things that might not be true or fair or accurate or legal, because they really could have been. I was not there. I certainly had no idea there was a sidebar until I started doing this whispering thing like 30 seconds ago. It really could be anything that they were whispering about. But it's intriguing when they whisper, isn't it? It's very intriguing. You're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? What are they whispering about? I don't even know what they're whispering about. Merchant says jurors will break now. Don't read about the case. Obviously, there's a lot to consider there. There's a lot to consider in what was being whispered. We can only speculate. What? Wow. Master Phillips, disciple number 7, gifting 50 good Lawgic memberships. Wow. That was something. All right. We're going to try and do this. As fast as I can. I'm going to try and read this off as fast as I can. The following people have been gifted a membership courtesy of the generosity of Master Phillips, who dropped 50. Pope Brackets touched me. Is the first person who was gifted a membership. Sputter Scott, Audra, Sam Adams, L, GF, Drew M, S, Elisar Musali, Kristen 09, S Texan, Finlay Vox, Eureka Hope, Dawn Satherwhite, Jennifer Cox, Hampus Anderson, Lisa Daniel, Jill Bass, Anth, Darth Cajun Kitty, Predrag Miskovich, Jennifer, Ice Cut, No Filter, Zombie Symmetry, Casper Myers, Laura Chamberlain, DJ Watchik, what is related to Susan Watchik? Bama Lady 87, Patrick, HDT, Corey Cast, Richard Bollard, Q Revere, Denise, Ricky Temple, Kelly Beresford, Soap Dodger, Agent Rude, Domestic Engineer, Just a Gogji, Smopo Vienna, Evan S, Remods, Mud Duck, Texas Dave, Craig Terlizzi, Rachel Moe, Irina, RM, Mary Smith Fan Sue. All of them gifted memberships in the following. The following is not at all a cult type of cult. One of the ways you know the following is not at all a cult type of cult is that the person you see talking most of the time is not the leader of the cult. Everyone knows it's Worcestershire sauce. She's the leader of the cult, of the not at all a cult type of cult. But it's not at all a cult. The following is really just about community and unity, some leadership training, personal growth. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. There's no Kool-Aid, no spaceships, no tracksuits that are mandatory, no running around bonfires, shutting off clothing while there's a tom banging in the background, no squirrel mutilations, no goat sacrifices, no throwing virgins into volcanoes, no smearing blood on the walls or sticking your head through your door and screaming, "Here's Johnny!" There's no harming others. There's no jabby jabs anywhere. There's no whispering in strangers' ears. It's not at all a cult type of cult. At all. And I am not the leader of the following. I'm not the leader of the following. I'm not the leader of the following. But all of you, welcome aboard. And thank you. Thank you for joining. Whew. All right. Trying to push us. He's trying to push us to 1,000. I see what he's doing. He's trying to push us to 1,000. Let me see where we're at. Did we cross 1,000 yet? I might have crossed 1,000.
Stop saying that.
I might have crossed 1,000. We're getting close. We're getting close. It was at 900 before this show. Now I'm curious. I gotta see. It's my dashboard. So this is what I saw before. I'll share with y'all. I'll share with y'all. This is what it says. See this right here? You just got your 900 member. There's no stopping you now. Pop into the membership tab, see who joined, see who's new. But this is before. This was before tonight. We're at 9:07. We're at 9:07 before tonight. And there's been so far, by my reckoning, there's 50. This is 9, 57, 9, and then there was 20. How many were there? There's 20 from Bella Stella. 30, 40. I think we're at 997. 997. And Jackal's Terror Argentum pushed us at 998. Gifting one Good Logic membership. Stephen Evans puts us to 999. That's what my count is. You see right here. That's my best estimate. So I think we got 92 that joined tonight. Wow. So just on the cusp. And look at that. So let me get this. Let me get this. And who was it? Gifted. So Jackal's gifted Cindy DeTore. Kelly says was gifted membership by Steven. And oh, look at this. Now we're just smashing on through. Grifty, gifting the 1,000th membership to True Liberty. True Liberty, the 1,000th member of the following. And then just smashing on through. AJ hitting up with 5 good Lawgic memberships. As did Rona with another 5. Another one from Jackals at Terra Argentum. I think that was the second one from him. It was the second one from him. So, all you new members of the following. Who do I got? Who do I have next? So, watched from courtesy of Purple AJ was Watchdog DB, Wyote 13, and Luke Blanche. Rona gifted. Who did Rona gift? On the Present Waves, Waiting for Summer. Lee Bart, Chris Clements. That's another old school guy here. And Jeremiah Himes. The reason I call these names out is because I'm very, very big in expressing gratitude. When someone does something nice for you, it's appropriate to thank that person. So whenever possible, I try and call their names out. Because you might not have recognized it. You might not have known it happened. And Drop Barracuda, dropping a membership on Lex Cook 66. I think it establishes like a certain kinship between them. Don't have to throw V cards in a volcano, but you can. That's true. It's not mandatory to throw any of the V's in volcanoes. It's totally optional. Totally 100% optional. So I'm confused. Are we not a cult bent on summoning a demon that takes the form of a goat that stands on two? Definitely no. Welcome. All we have tracksuits, cookies, and Kool-Aid. Not true. Joe, you finally used Threadreader app. I was losing my mind in chat last night. Super chat wouldn't work. I DM'd you too many times. Please stop whispering. I'm done with the whispering. For the long hiatus, thank you for everything, Joe. Oh, that's very kind of you. I feel so appreciated. Thank you, my brother. All right. Joe, I want to see all good and noble Jews to embrace the Second Amendment. Yes. Will you leave the Blue Genie stream on locals while you're gone? No. Rob Barnes mentioned you on Sky News Australia. Oh, really? That's so cool. Why would Sky News Australia not want to talk to me directly? I appreciate him doing that. But that's kind of cool. I wonder if I'm going to come back from my 5-day hiatus and I'm going to see that there's an article about me and I don't know, Tucker Carlson doing a whole thing. I'll be like, oh my God, that's freaking Tucker Carlson. Daily Wire doing a whole thing on me. Should happen. It should. Alan Dershowitz, Joe, get back to me. Jay Sekulow arguing with him, saying he wants to take the case over. That's what should be happening here. I gave you the theory. I gave you the legal theory. It's very sound legal theory, consistent with all Supreme Court decisions. Okay? You can all just... Jonathan Turley would agree with me. No legal scholar is going to argue that my reading makes no sense. No one's going to say, oh, that's an illogical read. Everything I say in my theory is something that is not being pressed by any attorneys. Because those of you who are not familiar with what my particular legal theory is, I'll come back to this in a second. Don't worry, we're coming back. But the legal theory that I'm making is that this gag is unconstitutional because the Supreme Court, which says there's a heavy presumption against the constitutional validity of a gag order. When we see a gag order, we start with a very heavy presumption this must be unconstitutional. And the only time that they talk about having a balancing test is a balancing test where they say sometimes we might be able to sort of squeeze down a little bit on First Amendment rights, a little bit, which are so sacrosanct. And then when it's a gag order, they're sacrosanct even when it's on past speech. But on future speech, where it's assumption that it's unconstitutional, it's got to be unconstitutional. It's got to be unconstitutional. You can't find a gag order that was issued against anyone else that's been labeled constitutional. You know where you have that? This is one thing I want to make clear too, because I haven't really made this point clear. If a guy's in a courtroom and they have to put a gag on him because he's barking in the courtroom, a criminal defendant. He's barking in the courtroom. He's screaming at the jurors, or he's acting like a crazy lunatic and scaring people. Imagine Al Capone, walking up to the jury and saying something like, "If you guys convict me, you can kiss your kids goodbye because you're never going to see them again." So you can understand why a situation like that, where someone has the audacity to say something like that and try and scare the devil out of jurors, you can understand why in that situation, in the courtroom, we would gag them, right? You can understand that. You sort of get that. You sort of get that feel that, hey, okay. That's in the courtroom because it's rules inside the courtroom. That's very different from when the guy's outside, and not making an overt threat, saying something that's illegal. It would be an illegal thing to say. No one's suggesting that anything Trump has ever said in his life, ever, at any time, was an illegal statement. Ever. I don't care if you can read from his speech on January 6th. You could see every one of his tweets, every one of his posts. Nobody, no district attorney, no federal prosecutor, nobody has ever claimed that he has made a statement that was an illegal statement to make. Ever in his life. And yet, while sitting as a criminal defendant or as someone who's being prosecuted by the state in a case for hundreds of millions of dollars, whether it's in D.C. or up here in New York, he's the only person who's ever gagged on prior restraint on free speech. So yeah, have we ever seen a situation where a courtroom they might shut the guy up and say, "Hey, we can't have a trial here if you're screaming the entire time"? Yeah, that's in the courtroom itself. Rules within the courtroom. You can't just walk into a courtroom and do whatever you want when you're in the courtroom. And if you're acting like a Meshuggah, so they might end up gagging you and literally shoving a sock in your mouth. But not when the guy's outside the courtroom. Not when he's out of the courtroom. And not saying anything that's illegal. That is what we're talking about when we're talking about a gag order, that we say, okay, we're going to have a balancing test. So when it's that type of speech, that's not illegal speech, not illegal, and it's not in the courtroom itself, you cannot come up with a criminal defendant who's been gagged. Aside from Donald Trump, over and over again, this is the guy that all the rules of the Constitution just go whoop, right out the window. Right out the window. If you want to make a rule saying, hey, when you're sitting in the courtroom, you can't talk while witnesses are testifying, you can't just start barking out. Okay, that would make sense. That we've seen before. That's within the courtroom. Certain rules of decorum within the courtroom. That's not considered a gag. So you want to issue a gag on someone. The only time that we've ever seen that happen, there's been any sort of restriction on free speech. Forget about a gag. We're talking about even like a restriction on the press. The only time that happens is when we're looking to protect someone else's constitutional rights from being overrun by the First Amendment rights. Overrun, destroyed. If it's impacted, we'll try to find another way to help protect that person's constitutional rights. The only time that we've ever tried engaging in a balancing test that doesn't have that is Judge Chutkin, Judge Pan in the D.C. Circuit Court, Judge Engoron, and Judge Merchan. All of them have one thing in common: Donald Trump. When Donald Trump comes, I don't know what happens, but all these courtrooms seem to say, okay, we're going to look at all these Supreme Court decisions, find the lines that we want, take the Constitution, set it on fire, and then issue some new order here. That's why I got a problem with it. And if it's allowed to stand, we're gonna see it's gonna be used against other people more and more. When Donald Trump is no longer a factor in the political scene, we're going to see more and more of these trials, and we're going to see more and more people gagged. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Well, the Supreme Court stands up and says, when it gets up to the Supreme Court says, what the heck is happening here? And I don't know, maybe my case will be the one that does it. I'll tell you this much: if it's good Lawgic versus Merchant is a Supreme Court decision which ends up saying you have to have a balancing test where it's constitutional right versus another constitutional right, that will be something that I will proudly take with me and to my little piece of influence on America and carry that with me for the rest of my days. Do I think that's going to happen? No, chances are very, very, very small. Very small. But yeah, if that's my legacy, as far as on American culture, it's a pretty fine legacy to carry. It's a damn fine legacy to carry. Did you find anyone better to run your grift stream while arguing your case? My offer still stands. Also, Twitter Premium has a built-in thread reader. You do? I pay for Twitter Premium. I didn't know that. Hey, I brought my membership month chat. Read it. I did? You did? I didn't read it? I thought I read it. Okay, look, my diggers. Digger number 44 is here to remind you it's third person Thursday. Digger number 44 is getting upset that my fellow diggers are throwing first and second person pronouns around. Shame, 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 shame. Good Lawgic has been terrible about it also. Good Lawgic has been really bad about butchering third person Thursday. Welcome, new member of the following, Spuds. And I think Little Miss means Little Miss burned his membership chat. Wasn't Dow Brooks a gag order? Like I said, like Good Lawgic mentioned, in the courtroom is decorum. Outside the courtroom, go say whatever the heck you want to say. Go say what you want to say. Say it. Say it. Let's get back into the balance of the last couple of hours here. We got the whispering, right? All right. Merchant says, before I please approach. So he said this. This is a report you're talking about. You did not tell the government that Hope Hicks was there in the Trump Tower meeting. Objection. You also testified whispered sidebar. That's where we're at. All right. Jury leaves. Steinglass. To show the witness A102, which has nothing about the August 2015 meeting, Mr. Pecker wasn't given an opportunity. There was no indication he was asked or that he would be a notable omission. It was improper impeachment. Okay. Trump's lawyer, Bove, he asked me for the documents. Judge Merchant says he didn't ask for A102. I don't know what's behind the redactions. Sit down. I'm going to instruct the jury about it tomorrow. You should be careful about this. Improper impeachment to bring up a document that was not brought up in the initial thing. All right. Oh, that's it. We will apply tomorrow to subpoena the Trump Organization. They are available. Justice Merchant tomorrow, late morning. See you at 9:30. Adjourned. Who knew? All right, so I guess we're at the end. Wow. I got to tell you, all this stuff that Matthew Lee was typing out, that's an exhausting day. I know, I've done this. Good Lawgic has tried doing this before, and let me tell you, Good Lawgic does not enjoy spending a day typing out with his fingers like this. It's not fun. I say kudos to you, Inner City Press, for getting all this down, because that's hard. It's hard. You can't record it. It'd be much easier if you could just, leave a recorder that's transcribing it. That would be awesome, but you would also get thrown out of the courthouse if you try doing that. One Article 3 court exists. All other inferior courts are conjured out of Article 1 through the Commerce Clause. Constitutionality matters not until it is appealed. Yeah, we can't start arguing about the fact that only Supreme Court is a valid court. So we have to deal with Supreme Court precedents and what they say about gag orders, because they are fine and they help a lot. So where was we? We got this. Okay. So that's what was happening inside the courtroom. Let's get some feedback here as to what people are saying about this. I got a lot more ground to cover. We're not even close to done here. My good friend Jonathan Turley, who does not seem to want to acknowledge that Good Lawgic left a phone call for him, left a phone message saying, hey, could you please help me out in my case in the First Department? which did happen, yet no response as of yet. Here he is weighing in on the strength of District Attorney Bragg's case.
Ahead of those remarks, joining us is former assistant U.S. attorney and Fox News contributor Andy McCarthy, George Washington University law professor and Fox News contributor John Turley, and former federal prosecutor Katie Cherkasky. Welcome to all of you. Andy, I'll start with you first as we do await the former president's remarks here. What do you believe is the strategy now with this cross-examination that is happening in that courtroom?
Well, evidently what they're trying to underscore based on the reporting we're hearing is that these agreements, these non-disclosure agreements, are legal. They're a staple of civil settlements in the United States. They go on all the time. And they're not criminal.
Nothing to do with politics.
From that to the ultimate argument that not only are they not criminal, Trump actually isn't charged with them in the indictment.
Interesting. Jonathan, when the former president emerges from that courtroom, I can only imagine what he'll have to say. But at this point, based on what we've heard come out of that courtroom, do you believe he'll look at this as a good day or a bad day?
I think you should look at it as a good day. If this is what they thought was their strongest start, this is a particularly anemic case. I mean, Pecker described how he asked Trump about the reimbursement of Cohen, and Trump said, I don't know anything about that. But more importantly, you now have the defense pointing out that he did the same thing for other celebrities. The point is that Trump was and is a celebrity. He had a hit show on television, and that was really good for the magazine. And Pecker himself said, I had a couple of different motivations here because this is what my readers wanted as well. None of that makes a particularly good case for anything criminal.
Nothing.
But what is still missing is the fact that he just described doing the same thing for celebrities because there's nothing illegal in this. There's nothing illegal in having an NDA. You can object to it. You can not like the underlying story, but it's not a campaign contribution. And the federal government itself made that clear.
Katie?
No, I have not.
I definitely agree that the first witness should definitely be your strongest witness, and Pecker's testimony did nothing to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. In fact, he even said that he assumed that Trump wanted the stories killed for purposes of his campaign, but he didn't have any direct evidence of that. And an assumption is a far cry from beyond a reasonable doubt proof that that was the sole motivation behind these very lawful agreements. So certainly, I don't know what kind of ground they gained with him, aside from the fact of establishing that there was many conversations with Michael Cohen that seemed to be coordinating this on behalf of Trump. And again, we don't know if Trump was aware of what Cohen was relaying and claiming that Trump knew. That's certainly something that's very much up for debate.
All right, Andy, I want to take our viewers and listeners through something that just came to us out of the courtroom and get your response to it as the Pecker testimony is ongoing at this hour. When it comes to, and this is the cross-examination that is happening, this August 2015 meeting, in 2023, Pecker testified the wrong date of the meeting, and prosecutors had to correct him, okay? Just reading this verbatim as it's coming out of the courtroom to us. Beauvais, the Trump attorney that is conducting the cross-examination right now is pushing Pecker to make him question his memory and different series of events. That Trump lawyer is asking when the most recent meeting Pecker had with prosecutors. Pecker said 2 to 3 weeks ago. Pecker said he had probably 5 meetings total with prosecutors. December 2023, February 2020.
That's enough of that. Point is that it's not going well for Bragg so far, in the estimation of most legal analysts. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing for Trump. We got more good news for Trump. More good news for Trump. This was shared by Stephen Gardner, who apparently has 1.5 million subscribers, and I only heard of him today. No idea who he is, but I was doing a search for Trump news, and this is what I got. This 2-minute video.
So I got something crazy I want to share with you. I'm just sitting here doing my research for today's show, and I noticed something that the mainstream media isn't showing you. It is the massive, unfettered, unrestrained reception of Donald Trump in downtown Manhattan, New York. The people are going absolutely crazy. The unions showed up at the crack of dawn in order to see the president. New polling data shows Donald Trump is getting 3 union votes for every 1 Joe Biden vote. And I want you guys to see
3-1 from the union. 75% of union workers voting for Donald Trump in New York. In friggin' New York.
this because the mainstream media isn't showing it.
This is right outside of the criminal courthouse. This is, you remember if you saw on X where I was recording that I couldn't get in? When I was standing, there's a long walkway from one of the entrances into the criminal courthouse. When you walk out of that, you're standing in the angle where the camera is here, where you can see across the street all those different. There's usually much fewer people there. There's usually no one there. If anything, you see cameras there. That's where they set up over there across the street from the courthouse. So, yeah, this is kind of crazy. You know why there's not so many people when I got there, 11 o'clock? Because these folks are working. They're hardworking folks. The only people who are there in the middle of the day are media and, like, you know, youngins. Those are the ones there. This is 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. They're showing up here to chant for Donald Trump.
Also, check out what this New Yorker has to say about Donald Trump after voting Democrat most of his life, and let me know your thoughts in the comments.
How was it seeing the former president? Oh, it was absolutely incredible to see him on the streets of Manhattan, meeting up with, you know, your working class folks here, the type that are out working hard at 6 a.m. It was my first time ever meeting him, and it was really dope. So, what's your message to Joe Biden? My message to Joe Biden: I haven't seen you anywhere. I hope New York turns red because we're not voting for you. I hope New York turns red because we're not voting for you.
That is huge. That is huge. Huge. Because the Democrats need to carry New York City by a significant margin. A significant margin. Significant margin. If they have any chance. If they're going to take New York. Because upstate New York has always been red. Always been red. Just gets anchored by New York City into being a consistently blue state. Upstate New York is reliably red. Reliably red. That's in a down year. That's in a down year. Check this out. If you want to see numbers here. Going to Siena College polling. 270 Win is reporting that, yeah, it was 50 to 28 back in June of 2023. And then 47-34, 52-31, 46-37. Now standing at 47-37. 47-37. 10-point lead. 10-point lead. That's not good. That's not good. January 22nd, they're saying that Biden has 41 to 32-point lead. And Kennedy supposedly was making an announcement. I don't know if he's dropping out of the race. There's speculation that he may be dropping out of the race. But, and that people are speculating that could help Trump if he drops out. The populists who are, you know, against Trump are sort of trying to lean in on Kennedy. And if he drops out of the race, the impact that he's having on the race is something that people are struggling to figure out. But Trump is surging. He's surging in New York. Surging. 9 points behind Biden now. Surging. He gets convicted, man. He will just run right past Biden. Run right past him. What empowers courts to require decorum in the court? Seems to me like due to the Constitution, First Amendment, the court has no right to tell me how to behave. Illegal speech exempted, of course. Oh. The state has a right to set up courts to set up courts to maintain justice. And in that context of being in the decorum of the court, all the rules of the court, you can say, by what rule can they keep you from taking pictures and cameras in the court? I'm not sure whether you're asking me a state constitutional question, or you're asking me a federal constitution question. But all the rules of the court are firmly entrenched in every state. I'm not sure if you're coming at me from a whole sovereign citizen angle. I'm not sure what your question is, Chris. But that's different from exercising authority beyond the four corners of the building. Those are two different things. It's not even the same ballpark. What was up with getting fired outside the trial? The guy getting fired. Oh, that? I don't know. I have no idea. He's talking about someone who engaged in very serious self-harm involving conflagrations that happened, I believe, on Friday. And I don't know what the story was with that. I have no idea what the story was with that. Was that on Friday? I'm losing track of days. No, that was like a Monday or Tuesday. It was on Monday. It was right before Passover. That's why I was getting confused. On Monday, is when it happened, I believe. And I don't know. I have no idea what the story was with that. We're going to time. You should watch PBD podcast with Tulsi that aired today. I don't know when I'm going to have time for that. But I appreciate it. Lou just joined us in chat. Hey, Lou! Lou! Good to see you, my brother. Good to see you. So, yeah, if you're Donald Trump, you're very amped. You're very amped. Things are going good for you. And if you're Donald Trump, you're thinking, you know what? I think I might be able to take this state. I think I might be able to take New York. I got plenty of time to make up more ground. Good to see you, Lou. Look at him meeting different folks here. Can you picture Biden getting that kind of reception?
We have a big case today in the Supreme Court on presidential immunity.
We're going to talk about that.
The president has to have immunity. If you don't have immunity, you just have a ceremonial president. You won't have a
Did you know about the payment to Stormy Daniels? Did you know about the payment? Did you know about the payment to Stormy Daniels?
Yeah, he's going to start talking about that. That's a great question to ask him. He's totally going to answer that question right there on the street. Totally. Great question to ask. Great question. That's journalism. That's New York journalism. Hard-hitting New York journalism right there. He's totally not going to walk away from you when you ask a question like that. Yeah, okay. I don't know what the guy's thinking. I don't know what he's thinking. Seriously. Dude. Why? Why would you ask that? I just want to hear from Trump when he came out of court today. We'll see if he was in the good spirits that Jonathan Turley thought he should be in.
Mr. Trump, do you consider Boris a friend?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. Today was breathtaking. This room, you saw what went on. It was breathtaking. And amazing testimony. This is a trial that should have never happened. This is a case that should have never been filed. And it was really an incredible day. Open your eyes. And we can't let this continue to happen to our country. On another matter, the economy has just been reported to be doing very badly.
I'm just going to point out to you. Jurors are told not to follow the news about all this. They're told not to follow the news. Do they listen to those instructions? If I'm Donald Trump, I'm thinking, a couple of them probably might be peeking at the news a little bit. So I would expect him to come out here and basically point out how over and over again, They got no case. They got no case. They got no case. Today was a good day. Another day showing no case. No case. You don't know that jurors are watching. But, you know, they got families. Their families can be like, oh yeah, Trump was coming out there saying how he had a great day today. There's no case. There's no case. Plant that seed. Plant that seed. Plant that seed. It's a wise move on his part.
The stock market's way down, and some horrible numbers came out, including very high numbers on inflation, and in particular gasoline at $7.50 in California. That usually leads the way. It's going to happen here too. And very importantly, as you look at the various colleges all over the country and beyond colleges, because it's happening in other areas too, you see what's happening on the front having to do with Palestine and Israel and protests and hate, anger. Biden is sending an absolutely horrible message. Horrible, horrible message. He has no idea how to message. He can't speak. He can't.
He's such a PR machine. He's such a PR machine.
Put two sentences together. He doesn't know what to do. This is not our president. This is somebody that shouldn't be doing what he's doing because he can't do it. He can't do it well. We're having protests all over. He was talking about Charlottesville. Charlottesville was a little peanut, and it was nothing compared, and the hate wasn't the kind of hate that you have here. This is tremendous hate, and we have a man that can't.
Just stop bringing up Charlottesville. Stop bringing. Just move on. It was 5 years ago, 7 years ago. Move on. Forget about Charlotte. Let's just move on. Focus on all the unrest. That's good.
Talk about it because he doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand what's going on with our country. He doesn't understand that all over the world we're being laughed at as a country because of him and his administration. And today we had, I hear, because I was forced to be here, and I'm glad I was because it was a very interesting day in a certain way, but the U.S. Supreme Court had a monumental hearing on immunity, and the immunity having to do with presidential immunity. And I think it was made clear, I hope it was made clear, that a president has to have immunity, and you don't have a president, or at most you can say it would be a ceremonial president.
And we're going to talk about this soon.
That's not what the founders had in mind. They're not talking about ceremonial. We want presidents that can get things done and bring people together. So I heard the meeting was quite amazing. Quite amazing.
The oral arguments were certain moments in the oral arguments were shocking. Shocking, I say. Shocking. Because there was interplay between Supreme Court justices that was highly unorthodox. Highly unorthodox. Where Justice Alito pretty much was bashing Sotomayor.
And the justices were on their game. So let's see how that all turns out. But again, I say presidential immunity, very powerful presidential immunity is imperative, or you practically won't have a country anymore. Thank you very much. Thank you.
What's your response to Arizona indictment yesterday?
Yeah. This is my show. I stay as long as I want, and I leave. I got no time for you New York media folk. I will give you what I give you, throw my pearls before swine, and walk away. Oh my God. I don't know if we're ever going to see another man like Donald Trump. Call that a blessing, call that a curse, call that whatever you want. But I don't know that we're ever going to meet another one like 45. And I said, welcome to you, Lou. Welcome, Lou Valentino. It was a pleasure hanging out with you earlier today. You guys check out that interview. A lot of people the numbers seem to be doing well. People seem to really enjoy it. I think we click really well, you and me, Lou. I didn't even get to this other thing. Oh my, I didn't even get to that. Gosh, when am I going to get to that? The exchange between, let me see if I can find this real quick. Transcript. SCOTUS. Okay, so it's on page 25. Out of how many pages is this thing? Okay. This is 20 pages in. And they talk about the plausibility of various hypotheticals that Sotomayor was suggesting and asking Sauer. Sauer was the name of the attorney for Trump. And one of the things that Sotomayor threw out there was the same question that the D.C. Circuit Court was asking about was, if you think that a president should be immune from whatever acts he takes in the capacity of serving as president, what's to stop a president from ordering SEAL Team 6 from massacring his political opponents, call that part of his duties as commander-in-chief, and walk away scot-free because he has presidential immunity? Would you think that he gets presidential immunity for that? And Sauer was like, yeah. I mean, unless he gets impeached and convicted, which he probably would. He'd probably get impeached. You'd think he'd get impeached and convicted if he did that. That's pretty much what his response was. So, in that context, let me see if I can pull it up here. I was losing when I saw that. It's relatively early.
Protected against. Now, I think, and your answer below, I'm going to give you a chance to say if you stay by it. If the president decides that his rival is a corrupt person and he orders the military or orders someone to assassinate him, is that within his official acts for which he can get immunity?
It would depend on the hypothetical, but we can see that could well be an official act.
It could, and why? Because he's doing it for personal reasons. He's not doing it like President Obama is alleged to have done it, to protect the country from a terrorist. He's doing it for personal gain. And isn't that the nature of the allegations here? That he's not doing these acts in furtherance of an official responsibility. He's doing it for personal gain.
That scenario there is where Alito's going to take issue soon.
I agree with that characterization of the indictment, and that confirms immunity, because the characterization is that there's a series of official acts that were done for an unlawful.
No, because immunity says even if you did it for personal gain, we won't hold you responsible. How could that be?
That's an extremely strong doctrine in this court's case law in cases like Fitzgerald.
Well, we go
Harlan,
back
Johnson,
to Justice Thomas's question, which was, where does that come from? There are amici here who tell us that the founders actually talked about whether to grant immunity to the president. And in fact, they had state constitutions that grant.
I want to get to that. I want to get to Alito weighing in on that back and forth there.
You and your colleague on the other side that no man's above the law and that the president can be prosecuted after he leaves office for his private conduct. Is that right?
We agree with that.
And then the question becomes, as we've been exploring here today, a little bit about how to segregate private from official conduct that may or may not enjoy some immunity. And I'm sure we're going to spend a lot of time exploring that. But the D.C. Circuit in Blazing Game, Chief Judge there, joined by the panel, expressed some views about how to segregate private conduct for which no man is above the law from official acts. Do you have any thoughts about the test that they came up with there?
Yes, we think in the main that test, especially if it's understood through the lens of Judge Katsas' separate opinion, is a very persuasive test. It would be a great source for this court to rely on in drawing this line. And it emphasizes the breadth of that test. It talks about how actions that are, plausibly connected to the president's official duties are official acts. And it also emphasizes that if it's a close case or it appears.
Meaning, if it's any way to look at this as it's part of his official acts, that's where you have to start saying that's his official acts. Not start looking, you should give him the benefit of the doubt that if it's plausibly part of his official acts, it's not like, this is not talking about a crime where he basically, a president has takes a bunch of prostitutes down into the West Wing, blows some coke with them, pulls out a 44 and blows them away, and then buries them in the Rose Garden. That's not plausibly within the role of his duties as president. But yeah, if it's something that seems like it's kind of like what a president does, you give him the benefit of the doubt.
There's considerations on the other side that also should be treated as immune. Those are the aspects of that we'd emphasize as potentially guiding the court's
And that left open, in that case, the possibility of further proceedings and trial.
Exactly right. And that would be a very natural course for this court to take in this place. The court can and should reverse the categorical holding of the D.C. Circuit that there's no such thing as official acts, especially when it comes to...
But you'd agree further proceedings would be required.
That is correct. There would have to be, and I would point the court to Anderson against Creighton, where the court said there'd be kind of two stages of these further proceedings. There's looking at the indictment itself, or in that case it was a complaint, but look at the charging document itself and see whether on the face of it this is alleging official acts, and if not, or it can't be determined, then there'd be a factual proceeding. And all that under Mitchell against Forsyth and so forth would have to occur before any other proceedings in the district.
Mr. Sauer, go ahead. Mr. Sauer, you began.
This is Alito now.
And by explaining why you believe that immunity from criminal prosecution is essential for the proper functioning of the presidency. But my question is whether the very robust form of immunity that you're advocating is really necessary in order to achieve that result. So just to take one.
So does it really have to be as broad as you're saying to achieve that result? This is actually a softball question from Alito, because it's a very obvious answer for the attorney to say, yes, it's completely necessary. And he wants him to expand on why it's necessary for a president to have that type of broad protection, that even if it's in the general sphere that of his presidential duties, that you really need to have those protections.
One possible alternative, suppose the rule were that a former president cannot be prosecuted for official acts unless no plausible justification could be imagined for what the president did, taking into account history and legal precedent and the information that was provided to the president at the time when the act was taken. Would that be sufficient, or if it is insufficient, why would it be insufficient?
That might be a much better rule than what emerged from the lower courts here. We think it would be insufficient because, again, that long line of cases talking about using the president's motives and the intrusive sort of consideration of the president's motives as transforming acts to official and unofficial would come into play. And of course, once you can make that allegation, all of a sudden you've opened the door. You no longer have a per se clear, bright line rule. You have a determination in every single case.
Well, what if it were not? What if it did not involve any subjective element? It was purely objective. You would look objectively at the various relevant factors.
That sounds to me a lot like Blazing Game, and especially viewed through the lens of Judge Katz's separate opinion, and that may not be different than what we're proposing to the court today.
Well, Blazing Game had to do with the difference between official conduct and private conduct, right?
That's correct. I understood the court to be asking that.
No, this would apply, and just a possibility. I don't know whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, or whether it can be derived from the structure of the Constitution or the vesting clause or any other source. But this would be applied in a purely objective, on purely objective grounds when the president invokes an official power in taking the action that is at issue.
Yes, I believe the reason I think of Blazing Game is because it talks about an objective, context-specific determination to winnow out what's official and what is purely private conduct. And again, with a strong degree of deference to what
I'm sorry. If I understood Justice Alito, he's suggesting not that. He's suggesting whether, even if it is an official act, whether you still grant immunity if that act is not plausibly viewed as within the realm of law. He can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that was the question.
That, I think, would be a superior rule than the categorical denial that emerged in the trial court here. I do think it would
I'm not quite sure why he used the word plausible, because that seems to negate, might as well give absolute if you're saying plausible, because anybody could argue plausibility. We don't even require plausible, we require reasonable in qualified immunity. So,
well, I mean, one might argue that it isn't plausibly legal to order SEAL Team 6, and I don't want to slander SEAL Team 6 because seriously,
He's basically saying you gave this ridiculous example of SEAL Team 6. And yeah, so that doesn't sound like that you can plausibly pass that off. So that's, when I'm hearing this is him basically saying, yeah, the reason I said plausible because of you. Because of what you brought up with the D.C. Circuit case's crazy situation of what if a president decides to get SEAL Team 6 to kill off his adversaries.
They're honorable officers, and they are bound by the Uniform Code of Military Justice not to obey unlawful orders. But
so I think we can be pretty confident that they're not going to carry out some order to just, kill off the president's leading adversary in the political race.
No, I think one could say that it's not plausible that is legal, that action would be legal. And I'm sure I've thought of lots of hypotheticals. I'm sure you've thought of lots of hypotheticals where a president could say, I'm using an official power, and yet the president uses it in an absolutely outrageous manner.
That, if we're an objective determination, may well be an interesting approach to take.
So apply it to the allegations here. What is plausible about the president assisting in creating a fraudulent slate of electoral candidates? Assuming you accept the facts of the complaint on their...
It's to me safe harbor day, in case the election results turn out to be something that's going to be, that's established that it's, there's fraud here. How's that implausible? If he's under the impression that they're willfully just ignoring obvious fraud, like we had the case, what was it, 18,000 votes in Arizona that were counted, that were a day late. So that seems kind of plausible.
Their face. Is that plausible that would be within his right to do?
Absolutely, Your Honor. We have the historical precedent we cited in the lower courts of President Grant sending federal troops to Louisiana and Mississippi in 1876 to make sure that the Republican electors got certified in those two cases, which
Sauer dropping the history knowledge bombs.
delivered the election to Rutherford B. Hayes. The notion that it's completely implausible, I think, just can't be supported based on the face of this indictment or even
knowing that the slate is fake. Knowing that the
Like, what part is confusing you? What part is confusing you? Yeah, that's right. That's right.
slate is fake, that they weren't actually elected, that they weren't.
No, not knowing that they weren't actually elected. I think they were elected, but not recognized by the government the way that they should have been, by the state government the way that they should have been. That they were elected.
Certified by the state. He knows all those things.
The indictment itself alleges, I dispute that characterization. The indictment affixes the word label to the so-called fraudulent electors. It affixes the word fraudulent, but that's a complete mischaracterization. On the face of the indictment, it appears that there was no deceit about who had emerged from the relevant state conventions, and this was being done as an alternative basis. But I want to address.
All right. Anyway, I don't want to go through the whole thing there. But I thought it was funny that he's basically saying we can both conceive innumerable examples of someone implausibly abusing their presidential privileges. There's not anything great about that. Joey V, new member of the following. Welcome, Joey V. Welcome. I'm not sure if you just went up. You might have gone up a level because I've seen you before, Joe V. I seen you before, Joe V. I seen you. So I'm not sure if you went to disciple level, but whatever level you're at. Now I really want to know. I'm very curious. The military advocate's brief on this subject is very good. He answered very poorly here. Did he? I thought he did pretty well in general. It wasn't a counterexample. It was a probe question and a P. I swear I think us non-call members could pass the bar at this point. The School of Lawgic is in session and has prepped us well. Prepped us well. Good. 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 I take great pride. I take great pride in that. Great pride indeed. That. Great pride. I want to share with you this. You know what? I'm going to go through this review of it also. CBS. This little man who, I remember him wearing purple socks. That's all I don't even know his name. I'm hoping to never know his name. I just think of him as Purple Socks Guy just because there was one interview I saw where he was wearing like a blue suit and purple socks and like brown shoes. So I call this guy Purple Socks. I have no idea what his name is.
Attorneys representing former President Donald Trump argued to the U.S. Supreme Court Thursday that all presidents should have total immunity from criminal prosecution.
Nope.
We're joined now by one of those.
Nope, not what they said. You're 2 sentences in and you already got it wrong. Nope, not immunity from all things. All right, CBS on top of it. And they got Vlad Putin's younger brother in here to come in here and set him straight.
Attorneys, Will Scharf, he's also a Republican candidate for Attorney General in Missouri.
I ride bear into studio.
And he was in the highest court today.
I don't know this guy's name either. I'm assuming his name is Yuri. I'm just seeing Yuri here. I could be wrong. But I think he ride bear. He ride bear into studio.
Good to see you, sir. Thank you for being here after a busy day.
Great to be with you.
It is the belief of your
His English is exceptional. If he is Vlad's younger brother, exceptional English.
Team that any president should have total immunity for official acts.
For official acts in office, and that's a very important distinction, as you know.
Yeah, official acts. Official acts.
Nobody here is arguing that presidents should have absolute immunity for their private conduct. But for official acts, acts that fall within the outer perimeter of a president's responsibilities in office,
he does seem like he should be saying, in a rising to almost falsetto voice, "No, Mr. Bond, no, Mr. Bond." That's what I'm expecting. But no, he sounds very American.
We believe that a president should have immunity, that without that immunity, the presidency itself would be crippled, and that no future American president would be able to effectively discharge his duties while suffering under the specter of potential criminal prosecution in the future.
Do you believe, listening to what you listened to, observing what you observed, that at least 5 justices agree with you?
I think the court was very interested at testing the bounds of immunity and was very skeptical of the arguments advanced by the special counsel's team that no immunity at all can exist, that a president should have absolutely no immunity for his official acts.
It's not exactly what they said. He said the only immunity he would have is for things that are expressly stated that these are his immunities, like his duties to be to take care of, I don't know, apparently not commander-in-chief, I guess, for signing a bill into law. That's not something, that's something he might have immunity for.
So we were, I'd say, cautiously optimistic coming out of the court today that they see this issue as we do, that not recognizing immunity would do serious damage to the presidency.
What's striking about your argument, though, is that during the proceedings, your colleague conceded some of the allegations against the